Welcome to the show, everyone. I am excited about networking with everybody. I made it possible for everybody to talk within 3 feet about themselves right on the radio, and that's what we're doing here. Check me out at networkingarizona.net. Maybe you would like to get yourself heard on the show. I'm going to go in with networking right away. My first guest is Scott Ryan, and he's one of the principals of FR Law Group. You got to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do, because you're the other half. And you do something a little different. So welcome to the show, and tell everybody a little bit about what you do and what we're going to talk about today.
Thanks, Carol. I'm definitely the younger and better looking half of FR Law Group.
I'm taking the fifth.
My law partner, Troy Froderman, and I, we formed FR Law Group about 3 years ago. Our backgrounds both are in, I came from a very large corporation as a general counsel of one of their groups within the publicly traded company. And Troy was, for his career, was at very large national and international law firms. We decided a few years ago to go out on our own, open up a boutique law firm that focuses on representing business clients here in the Valley and across the country.
Go ahead.
My background predominantly is construction. I'm an engineer by training, have 2 engineering degrees, worked in the field, constructing very large projects around the Southwest before going to law school, and then spent the next number of years at a large national firm in the construction practice group, and then subsequently back at the same company I was an engineer for as their general counsel for about the next 13 years.
So contracts.
Contracts, yeah, that is the main driver in that business. And that's one of the things we want to talk about today, was the importance of a written contract as opposed to agreeing or relying on a written agreement or a non-verbal agreement. Pardon me.
You never want to rely on a verbal agreement. That is for sure.
Yes, that is true. Memories fade. People will have different understandings of what was said. So it makes sense to definitely take the time, reduce it to writing, so that you have it captured for the term of the agreement between the parties and into the future.
So let me get some information about your firm, okay? You're located right here at 7th Street in Camelback, but across from Xavier High School.
That's right.
You're rated with the Better Business Bureau, but you can help anybody nationwide.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
I have a number of clients who are large national contractors, a couple that are international contractors that I represent them on matters wherever they do business, from sea to shining sea.
You do free consultations, and you have 31 years of experience with this.
Yes.
That's
correct.
amazing. Now, the phone number to call them at 602-566-7425. The website is frlawgroup.com. And I know everybody hears me say this every show, every segment, all the time, but I have to say it again, and that is because I love my show. Why do I love my show? Because it's information, for people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always who you're talking to, but also who they know, right? And so you never know. Maybe it's you, maybe it's someone that you know might be involved in a contract, and we're going to talk about some of this right now and who it pertains to. And tell them about it. That's what it's all about. So check them out on their website. It is frlawgroup.com. Okay, so you say that importance of a contract. I want to talk about it because today, years and years and years ago, let's say my father's generation, you could have a handshake,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, you could count on that. We live in a way different world today.
We do, yes. With I think how many interactions people have with different people around the world, how easy it is now. People tend to do business with a lot of different people around, and it's not the people that they have grown up with or have lived in the same community with, where you were able to establish that sense of trust and a solid relationship. So I think when you are entering into a business relationship, not only with people you've known for a long time, but with new people, it's real important to get that understanding reduced to a writing. It really will come back and help throughout the performance of that agreement. It is the basis where you can measure each other's performance and hold each other accountable, so that you do what you have promised you're going to do.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how big or how small, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're going to do it with somebody else, you got to make sure that you do have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, basically.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say after a contract is executed, what should a contract party, what do they do then?
Well, the smart ones do a lot of education in-house. They make sure that all the different individuals within their organization who are going to deal with this contract understand what is required of them and what is required of the other party to the contract. And then do some continual education on that to make sure that everyone's on the same page and understands what's expected of them.
So let's say someone's listening right now and they've had a contract, but it was a long time ago, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do second opinions on something? When can something be changed and updated on that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that happens all the time. You know, when the party who drafts the contract a lot of times is not the party who helps the client through any subsequent issues. So we get involved a lot of times when a party has a question with respect to what they had agreed to in the contract and what they may be facing at that point in time and how that may not jive with what they agreed to a year ago.
So here's the problem too that probably comes up, and I want to know how often you see something like this. So sometimes we do get into business with our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you're going along, things are okay, and then something happens.
Mm-hmm.
And now that person doesn't know how to handle the fact that they're now having issues with, let's say, the contract that they had even put together or what have you, and now they're gonna fight. I mean, do you find that they will hesitate to call you, or what do you suggest for people that are in business and they might have gone in with their friends or their family members?
Yes. And that adds a certain dynamic to it that is different. Certainly,
it's a bad twist.
It is, but there are ways to deal with it. You know, just because you get a lawyer involved in an issue doesn't mean that the gloves are off and you're going to start throwing punches at each other. We take at FR Law Group, we take a very pragmatic approach to it. We look at what the business goals of our client is or are, and then strategize with them on how best to navigate that issue so as we don't cause an unnecessary blow up later on. The last thing that we want to do is to end up in court or in arbitration. We would like to get the parties to come to a reasonable resolution, remain friends, remain business partners, and continue with life. This is not the end all be all. There is more things out in life that are more worth doing than fighting with someone over a contract. And we try to help the parties get through that efficiently and economically.
So obviously the best time to call you is before as you're just forming your business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Best time to call. But sometimes somebody, let's say, has already started a business and they didn't do a contract, but they can still come to you, let's say, and sit down and say, we didn't do one, or we want to redo one, or what have you.
Absolutely.
You can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their phone number to call, it is area code, where is it? It is, I can't find it right now, where is it? 602-566-7425. They do free consultations. They're rated with the Better Business Bureau. They are located at 7th Street and Camelback, right across from Xavier High School, but they can help anyone nationwide. They have 31 years of experience. We're going to go to a break, but when we come back, I want to talk further about this. One of the things that I'm in my mind that I keep on thinking about is maybe somebody might want to hear some type of a story, right?
Sure.
Because sometimes those a story triggers something in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
They love to hear things like that. So we'll come back and talk. Maybe you have one that you can think about.
Great.
So we're gonna go to a break. When we come back, we're gonna talk further. We're live on Facebook, so everybody out there, hi. We're gonna be sharing this show. Like us and follow us. We're gonna share the show just afterwards. Check them out on the website. It's frlawgroup.com. The number is 602-566-7425. They do free consultations. This is pretty important stuff, guys. Listen up. So we're going to continue talking, and I kind of said that on air for you because it was the one thing in my mind that kept on popping up. They do like to hear things like that, like if you had a story. What happened with somebody that didn't have one, or you know what I'm saying? Did you have anything that you
I do, and it's actually pretty, I want to say funny, because it was, it took about 3 years of litigation to get through it.
Wow.
We represented a contractor on a project that entered into an agreement to start construction on a building, and once they broke ground, it came out on the news that the structural engineer of record was indicted that day for bribing plan check officials They were just rubber stamping his calculations and designs without regard to what was required by code. And once that happened, we had to go through a peer review of his design or project, and it turned out to be grossly insufficient, and it had to be completely redone. And there was a big claim arose out of it, and because we had a good solid contract in place that clearly defined what would happen in some unique events such as that, our client was able to recover 100% of what it was damaged.
That's good. When you work with people, though, is it strictly construction, or do you, let's say somebody's listening, it is a small business?
Oh no, yeah, we do, yeah, all business.
I want to get that out there.
Yeah,
I want to explain that to them, because they might not realize
yeah,
that.
Sure.
Okay, and I know for me, it's funny because we say that, because when I first started with KFNX, I think I've signed 2,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Of course, we have a new owner, so I did sign, but then I don't know how it works, but I've always wondered, like, why they never. But they never said anything, so I never said anything,
Yeah.
But it turned out to be 13 years, so who knows? So are you liking it?
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
first
you're
time
right.
doing something like this,
They're fun.
yeah, they are.
Yeah. I like to make it so that it's very educational,
Mhm.
and I like to bring in stories, so when we come back, I'm gonna let you kind of talk to the audience about that too, because they love that kind of thing,
Mhm.
right? And when I talk to Troy, I'll tell you the same thing. Literally, you could have your own show with what you do, right?
Mhm.
You could sit down and talk, hi, come on in, have a seat, good to see you.
Good seeing you.
Yeah, I was just in the midst of something, I'm sorry, that when you go like really narrow and deep on that, right? And you guys could do that, where you, and people can come, yeah, that's what happened to me, right, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you, my friend? Hold on, I can't even talk to you because you look so rested, I wonder why. So welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Scott Ryan, and he is one of the principals of FR Law Group. We're talking contracts. Super important, guys, to listen up in all this, especially now. A lot of people are forming businesses. Maybe you're forming a business with somebody that's a family member or a friend or someone that's not. So important for you guys to listen up to this information, because now's the time to do it. Before is better than later,
Sure.
but you can do it either way. And like I said, because so many people right now who are dealing with this COVID and what has happened to them, they might have decided, I want to do something different than what I was, or I lost my job, I'm going to do this or that or the other thing.
Mhm, yeah.
You find that happening right now?
A lot, yes. We do represent all different types of companies, entrepreneurs who are starting their own businesses in various fields. We help them get those entities formed. We help put together their operating agreement or shareholder agreement and all those types of upfront documentation that's smart to do, because that governs how the organization is going to be managed into the future. What happens if somebody dies? What happens if somebody wants to sell their shares? Somebody gets divorced. Those agreements typically contemplate all those different types of scenarios, so that you have a good, solid set of baseline rules in place that people can then go back and consult with or consult on to help manage the
And
company.
each party then has a leg to stand on.
Yes, absolutely.
Basically.
Yes.
And I want to also get out real quickly too, that it doesn't matter what size. As a matter of fact, I think you used to come from big company, corporate. Now you're kind of helping that small business.
Yes,
Let's
yep.
talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. My client base is everything from the startup company through big international construction company that does billions of dollars a year in revenue. So, being a boutique firm, we have a lot of flexibility on what we can do and who we can help, and that's made it a lot of fun. You're not just pigeonholed in one area and kind of stuck there. We have a broad base of experience and help a broad base of clients.
Yeah, and again, I want people to understand how important all this information is that you're hearing here, especially this right now. If you have anything that you're doing with somebody else, you got to get it in writing. And they are willing. What they do is they help the small guy.
Yep.
I think that's what's really neat about that. And it doesn't matter how small, they're here to help. Their phone number to call is 602-566-7425. They do free consultations with everybody, and they're rated with the Better Business Bureau. Check them out on their website. It's frlawgroup.com. They're located right at 7th Street in Camelback, right across the street from Xavier High School. But guess what? They help people nationwide, and we are heard nationwide. So frlawgroup.com, and they have 31 years of experience. We were at the break, we were live on Facebook, and we were kind of talking about a story, because I told you that they love stories. Let's talk about one that you might want to bring up, so that they can hear, not just Facebook.
Sure. A number of years ago, we had a client who was a construction company, entered into an agreement with a developer to build a hotel. And the process to get to that was quite involved, and they spent a lot of time, a lot of money in getting to the point where they broke ground. The design was represented to be complete, and as we were in the beginnings of excavation and drilling caissons and pouring piers, it came out on the news that the structural engineer of record who we had on that project was indicted for bribing plan check officials in the state that this engineer did business with, and that precipitated all the municipalities required peer reviews done on all of this engineer's designs. And our design that we were going to build was found to be grossly inefficient or not sufficient, and had to be completely redone. That caused a project that was going to be probably, if I remember correctly, a 14-16 month construction time frame to exceed 3 years in length. And because our client did a really good job in negotiating a contract that had appropriate protections in it for them, they were able to recover 100% of the damages that they incurred, plus their attorney's fees and interest.
It's all about the contract.
All about the contract.
I was thinking also, you had mentioned too, like, God forbid somebody passes away. What about somebody who's even, let's say, people who are in business with their spouses,
Yes.
right? And someone passes away. Is that also important for them as well, or?
It could be if the spouse, if the shares of the company aren't held in community trust, if it's not community property, if they have.
What happens if they're like divorced? They've got children of different families, and they're saying they want this half or whatever. I don't know.
Well, that could come into play, yes, and those types of scenarios with if you have a blended family, it's really smart to have in operating agreements what happens. That would be also. It would be smart to have that go hand in hand with your estate plan.
It does, and a lot of people out there should be thinking about some of the things that we're talking about here right now. And maybe it's you or someone that you know. Tell them about it. 602-566-7425. It's frlawgroup.com. Okay, so issues. When you say some of these things, I want to talk about the difference between mediation, arbitration, and litigation.
Sure. There's a lot of confusion with people on what the difference is between those. A mediation is an agreement between the parties to meet together with a third party to try to negotiate a resolution of the issue. A lot of times agreements require you to mediate the dispute prior to going to the next step, whether that's litigation or arbitration. And the intent in doing that is to have the opportunity to do a level of analysis of the issues and sit down with somebody who's really smart and can help you bridge the gap between where you are and where he or she thinks you need to be to get it resolved. It is non-binding. It is oftentimes required by your contract, oftentimes required by the court. If you're in litigation, a court will order a mediation prior to trial to try to get the people to come together and resolve it that way.
In an amicable way.
That's the goal, yes. Sometimes it's not, no one's happy coming out of a mediation. You're never going to get 100% whatever you want when you mediate a case. But you want everybody to have a level of happiness.
Right, a level of happiness. But it's also less money, isn't it?
It can be, yeah.
Okay.
If you're able to do it early enough in the process where you don't spend a lot of money on attorney's fees and expert witness fees, yes, it's certainly.
What are your thoughts about it? Do you like when that happens, or do you like better when it has to go to arbitration or what have you?
No, we really counsel our clients to be realistic about what their positions are, what their damages are, what the other side has been damaged, and we really push them to get with a good mediator early in the process to see if we can resolve the issue short of them spending six figures on attorney's fees in a litigation.
So with the resources that these people have to them, I mean, what happens when they're fighting and they come to you and they talk to you, I've got this issue, what are their resources?
Their recourse is to file.
I said resource, I meant recourse.
I think, yeah, I caught that.
I was like, what?
You need to look at your contract and see what is your dispute resolution methodology. Is an arbitration, which is a private process. Arbitrations came about because people were concerned with the expense of litigation and the time it took to get through litigation. So arbitration initially was meant to be less expensive, quicker, and private. It's still private, but it has oftentimes not turned out to be less expensive or a quicker process. Litigation, I think everyone knows what that is. When you file a lawsuit and you go and you have a trial in front of either a judge or in front of a jury, and then you have rights to appeal after that verdict.
Question in terms of someone's listening and they say, I might want to have you take a look at mine just to see what you think, or they have a question about something that they're dealing with, they don't know whether or not they can fall back on something. They can talk to you, call you, have a consultation with you.
Absolutely.
And you could take it through the steps?
Absolutely, yeah, we do that a lot with, we haven't tracked to, try to figure out how many folks that we give consultations with turn into clients. But we do certainly do consultations with many more people than who turn into be clients.
And again, they want to make sure that you understand, they work with small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how small you are, they want to help you guys out there. That's who they're here to help, is the small business owners really. Yet they can do anything, big or small. 602-566-7425. They do free consultations. They're rated with the Better Business Bureau. Check them out. It's frlawgroup.com. Real quickly, what are some of the key contract provisions people should include in their contracts as fast as you can?
Pay attention to your notice provisions, who you're supposed to give notice to, how you're supposed to give it. Representations and warranties that you're making in the agreement. Make sure that what you're putting down on paper is in fact truthful and you can comply with it. Understand if there's any limitations of liability, and if there are limitations of liability in the contract, you need to understand what those are so you can make a smart business decision as to whether or not to accept it or to increase that limitation. In today's day and age, force majeure provisions, that came to bite a lot of people with the pandemic right now. So understanding what your rights and remedies are is real important.
Let me tell you something, what's really important is to have a contract. The number to call them is 602-566-7425. It's frlawgroup.com. Turn this off.